Oh. Hi, nice to see you. Hi, nice to see you. Good evening. Okay.
That's all we got today. We don't have
Good evening.
Hi. Thank you for that warm welcome. Okay. All right, here we go. You seem to slacking off a little bit. Give him a snack down, if you can.
always. He'll be back.
Snack him down a little bit for us, yeah? Do us a favor. Okay. So where do we stop? Where were we?
We are on the tour, C10.
Got it. Okay, good. Here we go. How does it start? Which words is it?
Below Janus.
Below?
Janus.
Yeah. Oh, okay, got it. Yes. Okay, here we go. So it says, "Velo yanos litchok atzmo yoter midai." Oh, look what it says, right? When you're going to the bathroom, excuse my language, I mean, it's a little bit explicit, but, like, don't push too hard. That's what he's trying to tell you, right? You know why that is, by the way? He's going to explain to you why. Why? But, so it says, so, yeah. So, the reason why you shouldn't push too hard is because you can injure yourself like that, The injury can come from it. So, like chill, like be chill, don't overexert yourself. That's what it means to say.
I guess they didn't have laxatives back then.
What do they have?
They
Laxative.
didn't have laxatives.
I'm sorry.
Vaikenach Biat small is already Janusi.
Got it. Okay, so let's go to Bet Yosef. Thank you for that tip. All right, here we go. So it says like this, Man Bet Yosef. You got it? Where is it?
Yeah, Besok.
It's Besop Per Kamot Siyain. It's over there in Shabbat. Pei Bet Amud Aleph. Hi man de aya lebet hakiseh. So it says, right, whoever goes to the bathroom, lo letev behedya velo litrach tefeh dehai karkashta atlet shinei ayativ dilma mishtamte shinei karkashta. Why? So it tells you, right, when you go to the bathroom, first of all, number one, don't like sit like too fast. Okay, we'll see what that means, right? Like boom, like suddenly. And then also, don't push it too hard. So why is that? So it says, right, that in that anal area, like I'm talking about inside, right? There's like some kind of a three, connections, some kind of three thing, and if you push too hard, it can break that connection, can break that whatever it is, right? Some kind of a sinew there, whatever it is, it can break. So that's why they say, don't push too hard. This is the reason why you get injured like that. This whole thing, right? That's what he's saying. Okay, so then he says, right, the high kakasha mishtatet v'shinei kakasha. Be'ate lide sakana. So that could be dangerous. So it says Piresh Rashi. Says Rashi, lo letiv behade bimhera. Right, as I told you, right? Don't sit too fast. V'chozek, right, and hard. In other words, don't overstrain your body. By pushing too much and like hitting it too much. Like go slow. Don't rush with this kind of stuff. That's what he's trying to tell you. Be gentle with your body. That's the idea. So, okay, good. So then he says, okay, so then it's so, right, that's what he's trying to tell you, right? Exactly what we just said. That's all he says. Okay, so basically, right, two things, right? Don't sit too fast, don't push too much. Like, be gentle and normal, right? Be gradual. Be gentle. Okay, so that's that. So now we're gonna go to Yud, right? Go back. So first we'll do Shulchan Aruch. Just gonna say the same thing, but we gotta go through the motions, right? That's the way it is. Okay. Here we go. You want a book, David?
No, I'm good.
You're good, okay. Okay. You gotta brush up on your Hebrew a little bit, no?
I'm listening
Okay, that's good.
orally.
Oh, really?
I'm sure the ladies are enjoying this topic.
Yeah, well, they could be a little bit disgusted, but what can we do? You know, you gotta go through it.
Well, they go there just as we do, so.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so Shulchan Aruch. Let's go to Shulchan Aruch. You said that was Tet, right? That was Tet.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's go to Tet. Okay, going through there. So it says Shulchan Aruch, Lo yasheb bimhera al v'chozek, right? First of all, don't sit fast and hard. Right? In other words, don't bump yourself. You know?
Abrupt.
Yeah, exactly, abrupt, exactly. V'lo yanos lidchok atzmo, and also don't push too hard. You'll tell me that. Shelo inatek shinei kachashta, because those connections can break because of that, because you're pushing too much. You know? Okay, right. That's that. Very simple. Very simple. All right, good. Let's go to Yud, right? Okay, so Yud says in the tour, the kaneach be'ad small, right? That's how it starts.
Yep.
So, right, look, it's interesting, right? It's important to know this, by the way. When you wipe yourself, right, after you go to the bathroom, wipe yourself with the left hand. Velo biyamin, and not with the right hand. Okay? Velo kaneach becheres.
This is new seat.
That's it. Okay, good. Let's go to Bet Yosef. We're jumping around like a jelly bean over here. Okay.
Why? Because you're liable to shake somebody's hand with after you come out.
No, that's not the reason. I will tell you why. It's a good guess. Good guess, you know, it's a nice guess. But you're making me laugh. Okay, so so says
You're gonna eat right after that? Or,
ah.
I mean, you're gonna wash your hands.
Okay, let's see Bet Yosef, right? It says Bet Yosef. Kach pashut besot per karoeh. That's what it says over there. The sham meforash atam. So there it gives you the reason also, right? So even though he doesn't bring the reason here, I'll tell you the reason, right? If you remember correctly, the reason is like this, okay? Because the reason why it tells you do it with the left hand is because with our right hand, we shouldn't do it. And the reason is because we put our tefillin with the right hand, you know? We put it on the left hand, the tefillin, but we place it, we wrap it with the right hand. So the hand that wraps the tefillin should not be the one that, you know, the hand that wipes yourself. This is the reason why.
I would think because when we're doing mitzvot, usually we should do with the right because it stands for.
Yeah, there's all kinds of good guesses you could get, but this is what it says in the Gemara. You know, what I'm telling you, right? That's the reason in the Gemara.
Or
Yeah.
you could eat enough fiber where you don't have to wipe at all.
Well, you need some luck for that. You need some good luck. I can't tell you. You need some heavenly assistance for that. But what I want to tell you, right, is that it's really like a kind of like a esoteric concept, you know, like you put your tefillin, you know, with it, like, okay, whatever, but you know, these esoteric concepts exist in the Torah, you know, so that's the way it is, you know, it is what it is.
It makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, okay,
Even if
good.
It wasn't for the film.
It makes sense to you. That's good. Yeah, okay, got that. It's good. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna start doing it because my dexterity is not, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the truth is that you know, it's good to follow this rule. Yeah, don't mess it up. Okay, so let's go to Yudalef, right?
In the Shulchan Aruch.
Now we're gonna. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we gotta do Shulchan Aruch. Mechila. I'm sorry.
Shulchan Aruch means what?
It's like a.
This rabbi, Maran Bet Yosef.
Table set.
Maran Bet Yosef. This rabbi, he wrote the Bet Yosef and he wrote the Shulchan Aruch.
No, I know. I'm just
Right.
those words mean.
It means
table.
it's a set table, right?
Set
Set table.
table,
Yeah. Set table. Okay, very good. So let's go to Shulchan Aruch. It says over there in Yud, right? Okay, so it says in Yud, Lo kaneach biad yamin, right? As we said, right? Don't wipe you with your right hand. That's the hand you put your tefillin with. Okay. Okay, good. By the way, that's an interesting question. You know, you think that applies to women because they don't put feeling, so maybe it doesn't apply to them. It's interesting, right? Could be, it's possible.
Yeah, but they cook my food.
I like that one. That's a good one.
They feed your children.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
They do everything at
That's
home,
true. That's
you know?
true.
I mean,
Yeah, but they wash down with soap. Don't worry about it. I hope they
well, if
wash.
they have long
I hope they
fingernails.
do. Yeah, long fingernails, right? They get stuck in there. Okay, so that's the story. Okay, let's go on. We're gonna go to the next one, right? Yud Aleph, was that? Yeah.
Yud
Yud
Aleph,
Aleph,
yes.
Okay, so yeah. So we're gonna go to the tour. It's very short. These tours and Beit Yosef, very short ones. Yeah. So it says in the tour. How does it start the tour?
ולא ייכנס.
ולא יקנח בחרס, משום כשפים. What does that mean? Don't, in those days, right, they didn't have toilet paper, okay? So they used to use rocks and pebbles and stuff. So it says, right, that don't wipe yourself with cheres, which is, that is clay, like hard clay, hardened clay, don't use that. So why is that? Because what happens is, right, that this is conducive to witchcraft. So what does that mean? If you use it, somebody can put a spell on you. Your friend over there in Yellowstone. Watch out, right? So this is the reason why we shouldn't use cheres, right, which is clay. Anyway, we don't do this today, right? It's not relevant. We use paper, right? So that's the way it is. I remember, like in Georgia, we used to use newspapers because we didn't have toilet paper.
I already forget because
You remember that?
I think so look, some
Yeah.
places may have had them, some.
Yeah,
I think we had them at that point. But
I know. I remember newspapers. That's what I remember. Yeah. You were born in America.
Yeah.
So you're not from the old country. You don't know that stuff. Okay.
now, if it comes to using newspapers, use the New York Times. Okay,
Okay, that's a good one.
don't you dare use the Post.
All right, you got it. Okay, not the Post. Okay, got it.
Because the New York Times is best for that.
All right, got it. That's a good one. Okay, good advice. Okay, so yeah, so so let's go. Let's see Beit Yosef, right? That's like a small one, right? It's more.
There's more in the Yud Aleph.
Okay, velo be'asavim yeveshim. Also, don't use dry grass. Okay, again, right? They use all that kind of stuff like that because they didn't have toilet paper. Don't use dry grass. Velo betzaror shekiniach bo b'chavero. Also, don't use a rock that was used by somebody else. Don't reuse, these things. That's what he's trying to tell you, right? That's it.
Yeah. for the same.
Okay, good. Don't reuse it.
Before Rabbi,
Yes.
do you have any stops wherever you're reading?
In the tour, I don't have. In the Beit Yosef, I have everything.
Oh, okay.
But in the tour, it's like just nothing.
Okay.
It's all like empty. You know why that is? I think I told you guys, right?
Because
That the original tour was like
edition.
that. That's the way it was
Yeah.
written, So they want to keep it like original,
Yeah.
Oh, original. You know what I mean? Like authentic, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Come have a seat. You know this guy, David? You know him?
Hello, sir. How are you?
Have a seat. I put you on my list. I put you.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Have a seat. Okay, so as we said, right, that we shouldn't use these kinds of things. So let's see Bet Yosef, right? So he just brings the source over here, okay? It says, "Besof perek hamotzi." You see where that is?
Yep.
Or perek kol habasar. So it's in two places in the Gemara, right? This perek and that perek, it's in Masechet Chulin. Okay, so then it tells you, right? Lo be'asavim yavashim. Don't use dry grass. Gam ze besof perek hamotzi. It's also over there in that place. V'tama mishum da'mekaneach bedavar she'or sholetet bo. Oh, right? Shinav hatachtonot nashrot. So you know what he says, right? If you use something which is like dry like that, it's very abrasive, so it can injure you. This is the reason why. So you don't want to use like dry stuff like that, very dry. It's abrasive. That's the reason why. So it says Perish Rashi. Rashi explains Shineh hapeh mikarkashta. So here also, right, that it's telling you, right, it can injure you. This kind of thing, you can get injured. So you could, but he's talking about, by the way, something internal here also as well. You can get internally injured. That's what he's trying to tell you, right? When you push it up there, excuse my expression, right? you can get internally injured. This is the whole thing. So therefore, avoid that. Right? Also, don't use something that was used by somebody else, right? A rock, whatever. So this comes from Brachot, Gemara Brachot, Nun Hey Amud Aleph. So he says there are 10 things that bring a person to tachtoniot. You know what it is? It's like bowel problems. Like all kinds of bowel issues. Like digestion issues. You know what I mean? So there are 10 things he says, and one of them is what? When you use a pebble or a rock that was used by somebody else. So this brings you to disease, basically. It's a disease.
Does it mention the other 9 things? That would be interesting to know.
It's written in the Gemara, but he doesn't bring it because we're concentrating on this issue right now. You know what I mean? Not the other stuff. Yeah, of course. Yeah. We can look that up later. Give me a call. We'll look.
Using a rock
That's the way it was in the old days, right? They used to use rocks
or
to wipe themselves. After they went to the bathroom.
well,
Yeah. So it's telling you, right? Don't reuse. Do not reuse. That's what he's trying to say. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. So a little bit disgusting, but a little interesting also. So, so let's see Shulchan Aruch, right? Yud Aleph. Am I right? Yep. Yosef. Okay. All right, Yosef. Yud Aleph. So it says like this, right? Again, lo yikanech becheres. Don't use clay. Don't wipe with clay. But bishum kshafim. Why? Because of sorcery. Velo ba'asavim yebashim. And don't use dry grass, as we said, right? It's abrasive. Shemikanech v'davar she'or sholedet bo shinav tachtonot b'shot, because it can cause you internal injury. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Velo, but it's too abrasive. Velo b'tzor shekanech kinech v'over. Don't reuse also, as we said, right? The rocks. Because it brings you to disease. It can cause problems. Right? So says the Rama, Hagam, oh, so it says the Rama, nowadays, right, that our bathrooms are not in the field anymore. In the old days, they were like in the field. You have to go out to the field, and make it over there. So it's not like that anymore. So what does that mean? They're in the houses. Already 500 years ago, they were in the house.
It was actually more sanitary back then.
Right. The truth is, it wasn't really in the house. It was like an outhouse. You remember those days? With the outhouses.
Which was great.
Yeah, we had that in Georgia. You remember those?
Yeah.
We had those. Yeah. Some places didn't have it. Some places had it.
Yeah. Some things primitive were left better the way they were.
Okay. Yeah, but it was really like those outhouses. Like you went in there, you could faint from the smell. It was the bad smell was so bad. It was really disgusting. Can't imagine how disgusting it was to go in there. It's a death valley, like death, Hashem should save us from that. We're too sensitive, we're too spoiled for this kind of life. We can't deal with that.
Is that a bad thing? Or good
I'm
thing?
sorry?
Is that a bad thing? Good thing?
Well, here's the thing, right? That the bathroom is like, according to the Torah, the bathroom is a dirty place, spiritually also, not only physically. Okay. So since it's spiritually a dirty place, the worse that it smells and the dirtier it is, right? Also, it's also more contaminated spiritually as well. You know what I mean? So our bathrooms are relatively clean. You know what I mean? So we don't have that contamination.
spiritually, then it's still impure. That's why we don't have the mezuzahs and stuff.
Absolutely, there's no mezuzah over there because it's not respectable, use, right? That room, no question about that. But the thing is that since the bathroom was relatively clean, also, there's not a lot of impurity like it was in the old days. In the old days, it was like a place where you really,
You know that
yeah.
my mother in Manhattan on Lexington Avenue didn't even have a window in her bathroom.
Some bathrooms don't have a window. They just have a vent. They have vents,
That
Yeah, they
vent
got
is
vents.
as good as the vent of my car, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's not exactly,
Yeah.
A lot of places like Park City over here doesn't have.
okay, but that's.
Wow. Right. Yeah. Sure.
Those are.
I have in this apartment, I have 2 bathrooms.
Yeah.
One of them doesn't have a window. The other one has,
Okay,
it's got a vent.
But you have 2 bathrooms, which is
Yeah.
already,
Yeah, whatever, it was built like, like after World War II, this building.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's
My
old.
question is, we can now,
Yeah.
so when we come out of the bathroom, we say prayer outside of the bathroom. We can never say Hashem's name there.
In the bathroom, right, exactly. But, the truth is that our bathrooms are relatively clean, so if you, like, let's say a person is in jail, like, and the toilet is like in his cell,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So he's got no choice. There's nowhere he can go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's got to make the blessing there if he's a religious guy, right? Whatever, right? So what does he do?
A religious guy in jail.
Right, there are many like that, by the way. Especially in Israel, you have a lot of religious people in jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they have over there, they have a synagogue, they have a library for learning, studying books, they have everything there.
Are they there unjustly, or?
Who knows? Some yes, some no, right? Everyone has his own issue, right? His own thing going on. I mean, all kinds of things. Some, by the way, there are some people who have killed people. They're Jewish people, religious. They've killed people. Somebody killed his wife, or something like that. It happens. It happens. It's rare, but it does happen. Sometimes.
Obviously, it happens.
Yeah, it happens,
I'm not
right?
that naive, but are you allowed to drink? Are you allowed? Are you allowed to drink water in the bathroom?
That's a good question.
Better not to, right? Because
Better not.
you have to make a blessing also in the water. You know what I mean?
But what
So
if
you
made a
should not.
blessing Outside and then go inside the bathroom and drink.
I'm sorry. What was that again?
If you made a blessing outside of the bathroom. then you-
Yeah, that's also not the best thing. You know why? Because since the bathroom, is still like not the cleanest
Yeah.
place, so there is some evil spirit there. Even though it's lesser than what it was in the old days, right? As we said, yeah, it's called ruach ra, like evil spirit. In other words, there's some contamination there, spiritual contamination. So therefore, what happens is that if you take food in there, if there is evil spirit there, it'll get on the food as well. So it'll contaminate the food.
It sounds like it's a good
Yeah.
place to have sex.
That's what Nisim asked about a couple of days ago. He
He
was here.
did?
Yeah, he asked about that. And what I told him is that it's not really a good place, It's not a good place. And the reason is because since it's a contaminated place, relatively speaking, even though, as we said, right, our bathrooms are relatively clean. You know what I mean? So,
Well, it depends on who's.
right. But since it's not a
Who's
clean,
keeping it.
here's the thing, right? When you're having relations with your wife, okay? So the whole point is, like, especially when you're younger, is to have children, right? So when you're having children, you want like a very, clean contact, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this makes
I
the
didn't
children
think about that.
pure as well.
But that's not the
pure
type of
souls.
sex I was talking.
Right, you're talking about, that other stuff. I know what you're talking about. I got it. So, yeah, I understand, right. So what I'm saying is like this, right? That as I told Nisim, if you're having children, really you should avoid it altogether, But if, as you said, if you're just, older couple, they're not having children, that's already a different issue.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? It's not the best place, it's not so good. I mean, better to be first of all, right, do it at night, it's and lying down is also much
Okay,
better.
He's blushing.
Right, he's blushing. Yeah, he's a young guy. I mean, he hasn't married yet, so he should be blushing. Okay, so right, so what I was trying to say is like this, right, before we get into this whole thing, that when you're in a place like jail cell, so you have no other place to go. So what do? So what you do is you cover the toilet, and you can make the blessing once you cover it, because it's covered at least.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is the solution.
Actually, also during Haftalah, as
Yeah.
far as I know,
Yeah.
they also keep the bathroom closed during the Haftalah.
Yeah, the truth is, we have an issue also over here. David has commented many times. There's smell
Yeah.
coming out of here.
Actually,
You
you
know what I
should close the door if you're having a Torah lecture.
Right. There's two doors. One of the doors is already closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a washroom. This is the washroom.
Yeah,
This is
right.
not the bathroom.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like this, right? That according to halakha, though, if the bathroom was open and there's no smell coming out, it's okay. The only problem is when you have smell coming out, then you have an issue. But otherwise, it's okay. No problem.
Also taking off the tzitzi, the talit. Let's say people want to go to the bathroom, they take it off. You can't go inside.
Oh yeah, that's good. It's a good question. So what the answer is to that? That the truth is, that talit is not a holy item. It's a mitzvah item. It's not like tefillin. Tefillin is like really holy.
Yeah, you can't take.
Right? You can't take the tefillin there.
Unless it's double packed.
Yeah, exactly. Double pack, good, very good. So, but if it's a talit, which is not really so holy, right, it's just a mitzvah item. You know what I mean? It doesn't have holiness. So therefore, the rule is with talit that technically speaking, you could take it into the bathroom, but we try to avoid that. You know why? Because you may sully, get some urine on it or something. You know what I mean? Just not so, not so right. No, I'm saying sometimes you have no choice, because you have like nowhere to put the talit. You know what I mean? It happens. All kinds of things like this. So technically speaking, there's no prohibition to take the talit into the bathroom. By the way, we have also the small tzitzit, we take it in there. We have no problem with that. It's the same thing. Big and small, big brother, small brother. It's the same thing. What difference does it make? It's all the same, But we try to avoid it in order to avoid the, as we said, right, getting it dirty or something. Because, sometimes you could just like cover you and, you get urine on it or something, and it touches the toilet, it's like, no, not so clean. You know what I mean? So this is the reason why we try to avoid it. So,
What if, let's say, someone just had a baby, right? 3, 4, 5 months, and you're gonna change him, and it's like in a room. Does that affect anything in terms of ruach, or is different because It's a diaper, you're just taking it, throwing it out in the trash and that's it.
Right. So when it comes to, excrement, like, from babies and stuff. So the rule is like this, that if there's a diaper on the baby, okay, there's a diaper. So basically the baby is covered. Okay. So if he made in there, in the diaper, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't smell it, it's okay because it's covered. But if you smell it, you gotta get away from it, like you gotta, yeah. Because it's covered. But if it wasn't covered, the whole room would be already prohibited, like you have to go into a different room. You know what I mean? So here's the thing, right? When it comes to the bathroom, why is it okay when the door is open? The reason is because it's a different domain. In other words, it's a different room, so therefore it's okay as long as there's no smoke coming out. But so what does that mean? If you're in a different domain, a different room, you're okay as long as you got no smell. But if you're on the same domain, even though the room is maybe large, then you got already a problem, depending on the situation, what it is, right? But that's the way it comes out. Yeah. Okay, very good. So
We're still in the we're still in the Shulchan Aruch.
very good, yes. So right, it says in the Ramah, Nagu Kaneach, right? So yeah. B'davar shel or sholet bo v'eno mazik. Look what he says, interesting. The Ramah says, right, that nowadays, he says, since our bathrooms are not in the field anymore, right? So therefore now we do use things which can be burnt. What does that mean? Like paper, something you can burn. So it doesn't harm you, because it's not in the field. That's what he says. So he says, look what the people do. In other words, the custom is, now we use, like as we said, they were using newspapers in the old days, This is the way it was, until they got toilet paper. That's what they were using. So that's the same thing, Same idea. Okay, good. So let's go on. Let's go to Yud-Bet.
Yes.
Okay. So here we go. So it says, "V'yifaneh b'tzniut b'layla k'derech she'oseh b'yom." Look, this is exactly one of our friends asked this question, right? That was Yitzchak. What about if it's dark, right? So it's telling you the Torah that even if it's night, you should also try to be modest in the bathroom, not expose yourself too much. You know what I mean? Like, don't let everything hang out, just only expose what you have to, like don't be like a animal. You know what I mean? Don't be careful a little bit. So it's telling you, right, you have to do the same thing. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say this is already
So-
bad.
That's basically, there's a mirror in the bathroom, so you could definitely look at your face, but look at the rest of your body, the private parts and all that.
Right. But even if there's no mirror, I'm just talking about the fact that, God sees you like that. This is the problem already. You know what I
God
mean?
sees you any which way.
Right. You see, of course, that's true. But, like we go according to the ways of the earth, like the way people dress, so God doesn't want to see you like, like behaving in a very,
Modest.
yeah, exactly, modest way. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So this is the reason why a person has to be a little bit modest. We're talking about the genitals, basically. We're not talking about walking around with shorts. There's no problem to walk around with shorts.
What if you're a Kardashian?
Oh boy.
Kardashian.
Oh, that's
You know
a
the Kardashians.
that's a brainer. That's a brainer. No
It's a
brainer.
family of very immoral people.
Okay. Okay. So as we said, right, that yeah. So you said stops there.
Yeah.
So where does it stop?
She'oseh b'yom. That's
Okay. So I'll read it again one more time. It says "V'yifaneh b'tzniut b'layla k'derech she'oseh b'yom." So just like in the daytime, we're commanded, right, to be modest in the bathroom as much as possible. Same thing at night, even though it's dark. In other words, being dark doesn't help you. That's what he's trying to say, right? Okay, good. So let's see what it says about that.
Darkness will
With
matter.
Yosef, I'm sorry.
darkness will not matter.
Right, it's not going to help you. In other words, you may say, "Well, who sees me? It's dark.
No.
God does see you. Whether it's dark or not." So this is the reason why. Okay, so good. So it says over here, "Veifaneh b'tzniut b'layla," and says Bet Yosef. So he comments on this. So it says that there's a Gemara, right? Besot per karoeh. Samach bet Amud Aleph. It says over there, "Ezeu tzanua." Who's considered to be a modest person? It says in Gemara. Zeh hanifneh b'layla k'derech shenifneh b'yom. He does the same thing at night in the bathroom as he does in the daytime. In other words, he doesn't give himself the liberties of doing other things. Like behaving in a immodest way at night. You know what I mean? Because it's dark. By the way, by us, it doesn't make any difference because we have lights on, So it's all the same, What difference does it make, right? We're talking about in those days where there was no lights, So it was really dark, like in the bathroom. Like it was like pitch dark, and I couldn't see anything, That's what we're talking about, right? So in those days, things were different, obviously. Right? So Rashi explains over there, so what is he trying to say, right? Don't expose too much of yourself. Whatever, only what you need to expose. That's the only thing. But besides that, try to be modest. And also, same thing, right? That a person should not, right, expose himself when he's standing, but rather when he's sitting, on the toilet already. Like if it's possible to do it that way, depending on the situation, right, what you're doing over there. Right, as we said, right? That's the idea. Okay, I'm sorry. What were you saying something? No?
So you have to go to the bathroom with pajamas on?
Ah,
I don't wear pajamas.
you know what it is? The idea is like this, like basically be as modest as you can according to what you need to do. You know what I mean? Like, use your brains, in other words, use your judgment. Right? But don't be just like, very carefree. Some people, by the way, they're like really carefree. So what does that mean? They like to walk around naked in the house, they don't, they have no,
Like
By
it's
the way, which volume is this in the Gemara?
this is coming from all kinds of different Gemaras, from different sources. He brings the sources on each one, So the sources are all here. Like you can check those Gemarot also, but he brings them. Okay, so in the Beit Yosef, you got everything there. The Gemara, the Rashi, Tosfot, right? The commentaries, everything is there.
By the way,
Okay,
those
yeah.
people that you're talking about, some people you said walk around home. Those same people walk around the same way on Fifth Avenue every day.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to Gimel, right? That's where we're going.
what about Shulchan Aruch?
Right. Shulchan Aruch. Got it. Okay.
I'll just double check.
That's what you're here for. Okay. So it says, right? If nebet's new, right? So it's telling you, right? Belayla, go again, right? Again. Don't do the same thing at night. Come up like you do in the daytime, in the bathroom. Don't change it. Today it's all the same. We have lights on there, so it's not relevant. It's not relevant. Okay. So we're going to use Gimel, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I think it's the last week.
Of this
Siman.
of the Siman. That's very interesting. No, there's
No,
also
sorry,
Yudat.
yeah,
No,
sorry,
there's
Michaela,
more. There's more. There's more. Okay, so it says like this right now. The Torah. So it says, by the way, soon we're going to finish with this bathroom stuff, and we're going to start learning the laws of tzitzit, which is more like, normal material. We're not going to stay in the bathroom all our lives. We're not going to stay, so we'll soon be out of the bathroom. Okay, so not too far away. You guys are getting disgusted by all this. Okay.
No, it's.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't realize it was so significant.
Right.
Disgusting.
I got it. It's a little bit graphic, there's all these descriptions, whatever.
When this whole thing was established, these laws? I know from going back to Abraham, or was it going back to?
Yeah, the truth is, we got the whole Torah on Har Sinai, on Mount Sinai, and that's what it is. And it's an oral tradition, which was at one point, it was written down, because it was getting lost. The tradition was getting lost, so they wrote it down. That's what we have today, basically, Okay, so it's an oral tradition, basically, all this stuff, which has sources in the Bible as well.
So this stuff was preached to people, to the masses verbally at one point?
Right. This was verbal teaching. Yeah, it was oral teaching. Yeah.
It was told.
They didn't have books in the old days.
The word was spread.
Right. It was just like you came to a lecture, the rabbi would teach you. That's the way it was. Yeah. There was no text. So what happened was that as time passed, they needed more text because they couldn't remember everything also. The memory was
So
gone.
the only
was
thing
shot.
that was written
Yeah.
in stone, as they say, was what, the Ten Commandments? That's the only thing. That
No,
was
the whole 5 books, Moses was first written,
Yeah, it
and
was
then,
written.
after that, the prophets, and the writings,
Yeah.
and, these were written down, but the oral Torah was taught orally at that time. There was nothing written down regarding the oral Torah, the oral tradition. So then what happened was, in the time of the Mishnah, right, which was like 2,000 years ago, that's when they started to write down the oral tradition, because things were getting shabby, getting very lost.
But
Yeah, pretty
this-
much, yeah, it's pretty much the story.
But these laws, they're in the 5 books of Moses as well.
They're alluded to. Some of them are explicitly written, Some of them are alluded to,
Yeah.
so, and also, there are things that the sages decreed afterwards as well,
Mhm.
decrees of the sages. All
And
kinds
those
of
are
things.
not rabbinical.
Whatever they decreed is called rabbinical, whatever they decreed.
Everything that was decreed after.
It's rabbinical, right, it's called rabbinical.
So even this
Right.
is rabbinical.
Really, like each halacha has its own dynamics, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like some of them are rabbinical, some of them are all the way from Har Sinai, from Mount Sinai, like all this stuff pretty much is like, from Har Sinai, what we're learning now. It's not rabbinical stuff. These are not like the rabbis made, decrees. These are not decrees of the rabbis. This is just proper conduct, proper hygiene, like,
Interestingly enough, one of the plagues that hit, I think it was the Egyptians, where they got constipated and stuff.
Oh,
Then I believe the prayer for the bathroom came from that because their orifices were blocked.
okay. I never heard that. That's very interesting. I never.
Where did the prayer for the bathroom come from?
Oh,
Originally?
wow. It was probably made by the rabbis, It was that all the blessings were made by the rabbis, basically. There was something called Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, the men of the Great Assembly.
Right.
This was a court of 120 people, which was in the Second Temple, and they're the ones who made the prayers, the format of the prayers, basically. The blessings,
Do
prayers.
you think that their mission was to come up with these things to keep law and order, like to keep a tribe? Or
No, this is just basically, it's all like one religious, format, like system,
It was like moral conduct.
Yeah, it's moral code, but it's, I mean, it's more than that because, it's like comes from God, like,
Yeah.
so, the origin is from God. So it's not like a human code, it's more like a godly code. All right, that's the idea. Okay, so anyway, as we said, ולא ישתין מעומד, שלא יתעזוב ניצוצות על רגליו ויראה כקירות של שפר. Right, so he says, right, that if you're urinating, don't do it standing, right? Even though today we do it standing, and I will explain to you why that is, right? But in the old days, they told you not to do it that way. שלא יתעזוב ניצוצות על רגליו. So the problem is like this, when you urinate standing, you can get like some of the urine on your legs, spills out on your legs.
Or on your feet.
You're right, on your feet, same thing, right? Same idea. So this is exactly what they were trying to avoid, so what does that mean? Not because you're spilling it on your legs, like you're pointing to your legs.
Yeah,
It splatters off the ground. That's what it means. The ground. It splatters off the ground and gets on your feet.
yeah.
Like that's what it means. It's a splash kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not that you don't know how to urinate. Like well, you're not a retard, right? You know how to urinate, but
Is that like some kind of spiritual impurity that happens?
well, yeah. I mean, it's like you can't pray like that. You have to be careful. That when you have urine on your body, you can't pray. You got to clean yourself first. You know what I mean? So therefore,
You always have
yeah.
some impurity on your body.
It's true, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
no.
regarding this. The Talmud says, "Lo nitana Torah lemalchei hasheret." You know what that means? The Torah was not given to angels. We're human beings after all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're flesh and blood, so we can't be 100%, clean.
You pick
I
your
mean-
nose.
Unless you go to the mikvah.
Right, but
More
what
so, then you
I'm
come out at that very moment,
yeah,
you consider it to be more pure than ever.
right. But I'm talking about more like physical cleanliness.
Physically, yeah.
You know what the example is about? What I'm telling you, the example is regarding a person who goes to the bathroom, right? And he defecates, excuse my expression, right? So to clean yourself really 100% is really like very hard. You know what I mean? So you do the best you can, you know what I mean? Like in other words, you do the best you can. So you're not an angel, you know what I mean? There's something is gonna be left there, and that's human, we're humans. You understand what I'm saying? You can't do 100%.
Well, that's why in Japan, by rule, every household, Japanese are very clean people, as you know. They have.
Aha, I didn't know
They
that.
have the toilets with the.
The bidets.
Right, those sprays, those sprays.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have them in Israel also. They have them in Israel.
Listen, they have
Yeah.
them here too, if you want.
Of course, yeah, but in Israel it's very common. Like every second toilet has one of those.
Yeah, I personally go into the shower.
Right, you told me about that. So that's very nice,
It's a
by the way.
habit.
I think it's a good thing.
It's like an OCD.
It's a good thing, But sometimes you just don't have time. You're in a hurry. You got to go somewhere.
Yeah,
You don't have time to go into the shower every time. You know what I mean? That's the way it is.
Right.
So yeah, so that's the whole thing. Okay, so anyway, well, you don't want to get on your legs, right? So you know what it says, right? If he does, get on your feet like that or your legs, you know what it is? You look like you're a castrate because you don't have to urinate. Like, you can't urinate, like it doesn't spray, like comes down. People think that you're castrated. So it says, right? So look what it says, unbelievable. Right? He says that if they find urine on your legs, people are gonna think that what? That you're a castrate, and therefore your children are illegitimate. They came from some other man. That's what he says. Unbelievable.
Wow.
They
Today
do
it's not
everything like that.
it's not relevant today because
Yeah.
people don't see this today.
So this is dictating
violent.
only to men, I'm assuming, not women, because women.
Women have to sit.
Yeah, the women have to sit right. We already discussed this by the way. By the women, it comes out like towards the back. It's like the spray is like backwards.
Right.
So it's not the same concept. A little bit different, with the women. Also, another thing, which we said, which is that by men, it splashes, like it's spring, but women it just comes out like very gently, So by men, it's like it just splashes.
Interestingly enough, I'm a counselor, so I work with some of the students in the yeshiva. And one of the rabbis told the
Ah.
students not to.
What kind of counselor are you?
I'm a mental health counselor.
Oh, really?
Psychologist.
Okay, you guys make an appointment.
So the rabbi told one of my students, you're not supposed to hold your private when you're peeing.
Oh, yes.
Now.
Especially when you're not married,
Especially because
Yeah.
it tends, it will tend to lead to you to.
getting an erection, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, if you don't hold it, you're gonna be all over the place. So you have
Right.
to hold it down.
So there's a
So
way
he's
to do it.
asking me,
Yeah.
I'm like, if the rabbi says, you do it, I totally understand, you have to hold
Yeah.
it because it makes a mess.
Right. There is a way to do it, by the way. We're gonna get to that law pretty
Well,
soon.
wait
We're
a
gonna-
second,
yeah.
what's wrong with getting an erection?
The problem is you could come
I'm
to a
kidding.
seminal emission,
Yeah.
that's the
Yes,
right, that's the
or-
problem, toot, toot, toot.
I was kidding.
We have some code things, when we were children, all kinds of stuff.
Do you have any liberals that you can help with mental?
Far beyond help.
Yeah, far
Look
Okay,
what happened.
okay, wow, okay, well, you guys
Isn't it sick?
seem to be on the same page, okay?
They chose abortion over law and order and putting food on the table.
Right, so that's very interesting, right? Tell me when it ends, okay, I'm just reading.
No,
So it
it's not
says-
continuing.
ונמצא מוציא לעז על בניו, אם לא שיעמוד במקום גבוה. Unless what? If you stand on a high place, like on a hill, what I mean? Then you can urinate standing because it'll like go down, and it won't sprinkle on you. You understand? It will like go down the descent. So this way it's okay. So here by us also, by the way, that shows you, right, that we have a toilet, so it's okay because it won't sprinkle on you. Like it's not very likely.
And it still splatters.
Yeah,
You'll be surprised.
a little bit,
Yeah,
but
what
We
goes
don't
on.
have such a concern, with the toilet, because it's like a receptacle. And it goes in there, so you're good, We're talking about you're in the field, like just going on the ground. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. So if you're in a high place, also same thing, that also saves you, because it won't sprinkle on your legs.
So women don't have these issues.
They have other issues. We all got our issues.
Listen, I know there are other issues.
Okay. God bless you.
Women's live. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, right, as we said, נמצא מוציא לעז על בניו, אז הוא אומר, במקום גבוה, יש לנו נותן לך עפר על הרגליו, ויראה ככרוך שופר. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. תפרוח תזווה, שישתין, right, so, במקום גבוה, או שישתין לתוך יותר. Another solution, he says, is that, you should urinate in a place where the ground is soft, like tilled ground, so it won't splatter like that, it'll just get absorbed. I'm sorry, did you say it ended? It ended?
These hard is now the next seed. These hard is next seed.
Got it. Okay, well, I'll stop there.
What if the person is in his garden and he has vegetables and the ground is tilted, like you said, and he just needs to go right there because he has an urge?
Sure.
Is he allowed to eat those veggies and stuff that he's then has to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
Even
No
though
problem.
they absorb.
Because you know what the ground does? The ground filters everything, and it does all kinds of stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be able to eat anything. The way, because like they use manure, to till the ground.
Urine was used as.
All kinds of
to heal.
medicinal things, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It was. Yes. Very true.
Mhm.
Very true. It does have medicinal properties, urine.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Very good. So as we said, right, that that will also help you. Right. That's it. Right. We're done with that. Okay. So let's go to Bet Yosef.
Now, why are we jumping from Bet Yosef to?
Because we're doing like each halakha,
Yeah.
first the Torah, then the Bet Yosef, and then the Shulchan Aruch.
We're not really comparing. We're just.
No, not comparing. We're just going like step by step. Like each law by itself. But each law, we're treating each law by itself.
Mhm.
So this way we don't get mixed up. Different laws. Get confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says like this, right? 1 second. Yeah, bit Yosef. So it says, so it says, im lo she'amod be'makom kavua, we already said this. So it says, beperesh per kol hayad. Where is this? In Masechet Nida, right? You asked where is this in the Talmud? Right, this one is in Masechet Nida, Yud Gimel Amud 13a. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, it says over there, Rabbi Eliezer says, ha'oches be'ama u'mashtin kilu mevi mabul le'olam. Wow. Look what it says, right? Unbelievable. Exactly what you just mentioned.
What is this
Right.
language?
If you're Nida, Yud Gimel, 13. So it says over there that if you're holding your penis, right,
Right.
and you're urinating,
Mhm.
it's like you're bringing a mabul. You know what that means? Like a flood. You know, like the Noah's
Oh,
flood.
boy.
That's what you're doing. So you know what the allegory is over here. You know what the issue is. It says in the Midrash that one of the reasons why God brought the flood on them, he destroyed everybody, is because they were masturbating.
You're
So
kidding me.
yeah, so they were like spilling seed.
That's
This
what
was
you
one of the reasons why. Yeah,
So
One of the
you-
reasons.
you
yeah, one of the
said-
reasons. Yeah.
What about? Okay, no, sorry.
Yeah, what you're saying is
Yeah.
because they were holding their penises, it actually tempted them to masturbate?
In those days, they were doing it on purpose. But he's telling you, right, that if you hold yourself like that when you're urinating, you could come to be like one of those guys. You know what I mean? It could bring you to that. That's what he's trying to tell
So you're saying
you.
it's, halakhically, it's not acceptable to hold it when you go.
Right, but we're gonna discuss the whole. There's a lot of details. Right? We're just giving you another
What
basic
if-
idea.
Rabbi, and excuse me,
Yeah.
my son, what if it's not big enough to hold?
Oh,
Some are not blessed with.
well, we gotta find you a treatment for that.
I mean,
Yeah,
this is
okay,
such a
tell you, right?
bizarre.
Because-
Yeah.
No, because the truth is, there's a way of holding it in
Yeah.
terms of, in such a way where you will allow that. or
Yeah,
you
we're gonna
will
talk
hold
about
it-
that now. Yeah, we're gonna get into this whole thing. This is just the beginning. We're just getting rolling. We're getting rolling. Okay, so right, this is the first statement. So it says right that you're bringing the flood to the world. What does that mean? You're like those guys over there in the flood that got wiped out. Amru lo, the Rabbi
It's pretty
Eliezer.
sick that there's a correlation.
Right, exactly. That's pretty. Yeah.
between
So it says right. They said to Rabbi Eliezer,
a flood and a bunch of guys doing this.
"V'halon nitzotzot nitezin al raglav." So it says right, but so he says right. Isn't it also, there's another issue, which is that you're spilling on your legs, the urine, and you look like, as we said, you look like a castrate. And then you're bringing a bad name on your children, that maybe they're not legitimate. That shehen mamzerim, they're mamzerim. Amar lahem mutav sheyotzet la'azar banav. So he says, so this is the thing, this is exactly your question. You see, the Gemara is discussing here two things, like, okay, well, you're telling me not to hold myself, right, when I urinate. But then I'm going to have the issue of like spilling on my legs. I can't, because I can't control where it goes. This is exactly the question he's asking. You understand? So what do you do? That's the question that they're asking. Like, how do you solve this problem? In other words, it's like a double-edged sword. Either way you go, it's bad.
Well,
So
yes
how do
and
you?
no. I mean,
How do you?
don't necessarily have to hold it to direct, where you're gonna pee.
That's the best way to do it. Like you got to aim.
Yeah.
Even so, even
You have to
so,
aim. You got to aim.
even if you're standing in the toilet.
What can you do?
To aim, you have to stand in a certain way, depends on your height.
Yeah.
And then you go on the rig and it sputters all over.
I mean, we're like big boys. We know what to do, right? We know. We're not
I think
we're not
this is
children,
why
right?
I tell my atheist or non-religious friends to get in the Torah, because you have everything. You have pornography, you have violence.
Yeah. That's the truth. What you're saying is very deep, actually.
Yeah.
You know what it is? So you know what it is? When you learn Torah, you're learning every facet of life.
Yeah.
So everything is discussed. So it kind of like satisfies you because like you cover every facet. So you feel like, oh yeah, well, like in other words, I don't refrain from any kind of conversation. I talk about everything. Like everything's on the table. So we talk about everything.
Yeah.
By the way, there are some people who are foolish. Some Jewish people. When you start talking about graphic stuff, they like cringe. Like, don't talk to me about that. And they're like, they say, please, don't talk about that. Like, stop right there. And these people are very immature. Like they need like some.
Well, they're not comfortable.
They need some counseling. Maybe. So
Rabbi.
Serious talk. Serious talk.
yeah, exactly.
Rabbi, they're not comfortable. Some people. are.
Yeah, right. But you know what it is? It's like it's immature. Like like it's childish kind of.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
blame some people. For
Yeah, I
It's not
understand what you mean.
exactly- To me, this is not exactly a very
Eh?
We can joke, but.
Because there's also, like when we talk in Torah, we talk also about sexual issues, like how to be with your wife and stuff. There's also talked about.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? Oh, don't tell me that stuff. If I don't tell you, you're gonna come to a sin because you don't know what to do. I mean, so it's your choice. Pick one or the other. Either you're gonna sin, or you gotta hold yourself and listen.
I know this is all,
You know what
this is, I don't want to veer into something that you don't like. But is this why the Christians claim that the Torah teaches everything but love?
What?
And
No,
That's heresy, kind of
Yeah, it's
heresy,
heresy.
of course.
it actually
Okay.
teaches love, that's exactly.
I know it does.
But the Christians, they twist it.
Yeah, they twist it.
Right.
It does, but they claim that.
They have a sick kind of love, it's a sickness, it's a sick love. That's what it is. When you love for the wrong reason, for the wrong, motives, this is what they have.
Mm.
Sick love. Love sick. That's what it is. Okay, so right, those heretics, don't listen to them.
I love that one.
Okay. Okay. So as we said, right, that so Gemara is asking, right, what do you do? You know what I mean?
You compromise.
So look what he answers, right? This rabbi. He says, Amar lahem mutav sheotzi lazar banav ve'ad yaseh atzmo rasha sha'a echad. Wow, look what it says. It says better to have your children, have with a bad name, maybe they're illegitimate, than to be a rasha and to play with yourself, and come to do something bad. You understand? That's what he's trying to tell you. In other words, listen, there's priorities, each one has its own weight. You gotta weigh one against the other, and this one outweighs the other one. That's what he's trying to tell you. You know what I mean? So he says, okay, so Rashi explains over here. He brings the Rashi, Perish Rashi. So he says the reason why you get splashed like that when you don't hold it is because you're not splashing far away, like you're splashing down because you're not holding it, So it's pointing down, and that's why it happens. So this is what this is what it causes. So it says, so he says there are people, as we said, right, who are castrated. So here's the thing, right? When a person is a castrate, one of the problems that he has is that he can't splash, In other words, it just goes down the urine. Doesn't splash, So
Castrated, or if he's a transsexual.
yeah, well, they castrate them too. That's the whole thing, They castrate them. That's what they do surgery. They're castrated. That's what it is, Yeah, that's basically what it is. So as we said, right? So therefore, right? They find solutions for this, some kind of solutions. What do you do, right? He says he brings a bright over here. So Brighta says, if you're doing it right on a hill, and you're going you're sprinkling downwards, that's okay. Yashtin, right? As we said, because then you won't get it on your legs. Or yashtin be'afar tichoch, or as we said, right, tilled ground. Same thing, right? That's also fine because it's not going to sprinkle, it's not going to splash, it's just going to get absorbed. But don't make yourself into a wicked person, by playing with yourself. The expression. So it concludes in the Gemara over there. They told him in the beginning. So now the Gemara asks a question, right? Okay, what about if he doesn't have a place like that, tilled ground, or he doesn't have a hill, what should he do then? How do you urinate, In other words, if you can't hold yourself, you're gonna splash. That's what's gonna happen. So what do you do? This is the question. So it answers. So then the answer is that it's better. In other words, if you're weighing one against the other, it's better that he should have a bad name, that the children are mamzerim, than he should have a playing with himself, causing himself to sin. That's what it is, So if you weigh one against the other, right, this one outweighs it. So we're not done yet, by the way. We're still going, we're still, we're not yet.
What about urinating in the ocean or a lake?
Oh, like you're in the water, in other words. Yeah. We have problems with the swimming pools with this. The kids go in there. They make problem. That's why I don't go to swimming pools. I get so disgusted.
Yeah,
I can't even go to those places.
But in
I
the
get,
ocean, it's big because it's going to absorb everything.
Right, it's true, true. Yeah, so what's the question about that? What are you asking about regarding this?
So if a person urinates in the ocean, it's not like you're contaminating yourself, because you could go to the ocean.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, you're right. Absolutely. No, there's no contamination regarding that, because the ocean is splashing everything away.
It's
the
like-
waves are taking it out.
It's like putting a small drop of milk into.
Absolutely, I agree with you. 100%. 100%. Yeah, of course, of course. Of course. Also, because the water is salty,
Yeah.
it also it's like a disinfectant,
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. So right, that's with the mouth. So he says, why is it so dangerous? In other words, what's the big problem to hold yourself? Because you're going to come to spill your seed like that. That's the problem. That's what it says. You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with
Got
you.
it. Perek Ketzad Mevarchin. So it says in this perek over there in Brachot, Mem Amud Aleph, Aminan, De'en Miraglaim Kalim Ela B'Yeshiva. Oh, so you know what it says? Something interesting, right? That when you urinate, you can't get it all out until you're sitting, unless you're sitting. Or right, either you're sitting, or it's a tilled ground, as we said, right? In other words, what he means to say is that it gets absorbed like that. That's what I meant to say, right?
Actually, one of my students asked, when they go to the bathroom, even if they're on hold, but they're still, when they put their penis back inside their underwear, it
Yeah.
still leaks. So sometimes you gotta go like this just to get.
Right, of course,
out.
of course,
So
of
you
course.
have to touch it,
Right.
just to make sure that it's clean.
Right. We're gonna discuss all this, by the way. We're gonna get into all this stuff. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it because you have to know practically what to do. I mean, like what to do practically. How do you do it? There's so we're gonna get into this whole issue about what to do also. Like practically today, even in our times. So just going step by step. So it says right. So the truth is, that when we look in the halacha, when we get more advanced in the halacha, what we're gonna see over there is that there's also differentiation how you touch yourself. In other words, is it above the crown or below the crown?
No.
It's not the same thing. So what does that mean? Above the crown, you get more stimulated. So this is really the problem. Below the crown, you're not so stimulated. So therefore, that's more lenient. You understand? Now that's one thing because the crown is full of nerves, right? So you get stimulated like that. You know, right? Very, very well known. So same thing the halacha says. Above that, you shouldn't touch it, especially above the crown. There's also another thing, which is that if you need to support it, and lift it up, what you can do is use something, use something to lift it, indirectly. You know what I mean? Don't touch it with your hand, but indirectly lift it up somehow. You know what I mean? You know what it is with your testicles. That's what you do. Push it up. You understand that you can do because you're not touching it directly.
But if you touch a testicle, it also causes an erection.
We're not so worried about that. We're more worried about the direct touching the crown. This is what what I mean. Because in other words, it's not really a little bit of erection. We're worried about spilling seed. You know what I mean? That's what. So if you don't touch the crown, it probably won't happen.
Just use a big cup. In the old days, they used to use gashok. I still remember from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it won't go anywhere. It'll just directly go into.
Right, but the thing is, when you're walking around, you don't always have those things on you. You know what I mean? So that's we're talking practically, practically what to do.
Ways to.
Of course, yeah. There's all kinds of solutions.
If dripping
course,
urine on yourself is such
Yeah.
a big deal, there are ways to avoid it.
Of course. We're gonna get to that all that stuff. We're gonna practically speaking what to do right now, all that stuff. But anyway, as we said, right, that then right. So Rashi explains, and it means that the urine doesn't end from the body, only when you're sitting. The pisha kiluach karov lifsok, because what happens is that when the spray of the urine, right, is about to stop, he worries, he's worried that he shouldn't get drops on his leg, whatever, right? Therefore he stops. So it's like a psychological thing, Today we don't have that, by the way, because we're using the toilets. You understand? But in those days, when they were going on the ground, so they were afraid to strip on their legs. So they would stop a little bit beforehand, so they would leak a little bit urine in the body. So this is what he means to say, right? It's not such a good thing like that to leave urine in the body. And that's so therefore, right, the best thing, to avoid all these things is to sit down. That's one thing, right? As we said, because we have toilets, it's also good. It's also fine. Right? In those days, they didn't have those things. Right? So therefore, he wrote, if it's not that he stands in a high place, so therefore, the rule is like this: if you're sitting, you don't need a high place, right? Only when you're standing. You don't need a tilt ground. You don't need anything, any of these things when you're sitting. Rambam also writes like this. So let's see how much we have here. We're almost finished. Yeah, so I'll just finish it off.
A friend invited me for dinner, and he said, "David, in my home you sit." I swear. He said, "I'm sorry, you're my friend, but in my home."
God bless. How are you? Okay, so as we said, קשה, כי אמור רבי אליעזר, אין לו מקום גבוה, אבל תברח מיילמה, והוא אפשר בישיבה, ואפשר לקטע. Good to see you. We'll be here next week. God willing, we'll be here next week Sunday.
You know how to pee now, right?
So he says, אפשר בישיבה, ואפשר, so it says, קשה, difficult, he says, כי אמור לו לרבי אליעזר, when they said to רבי אליעזר, אין לו מקום גבוה, it doesn't have a high place, or a tilled ground, what's it then? You should have told them, you could sit. Why did he say that? You could sit down. Because it's possible, they could have answered him. Sometimes it's not possible to sit, right? You're going like in a caravan, you're going on a road, you can't sit like that. They won't wait for you, right? Right? So, what's it then? So then, right, Rabbi Eliezer told them in the end, mutab. What does that mean? It's better. In other words, if you have a clash between these two things, it's better to be suspected, of your children being mamzerim, but not to, to actually come to a sin. This was the answer, the final answer. Okay, let's see Shulchan Aruch and we're done. Right, we're out of here. Okay. So, you see what is Shulchan Aruch? Yosef. Yosef HaKohen. God bless you. Okay, it says like this, right? Lo yashtin me'omed, right? So first of all, right, don't urinate standing, as we said, right? We're talking about on the ground. Why? Because you're going to get splashing on your feet like that. Right? Unless you're standing in a hill, high place, right, with a degrade, whatever we call it, right? Gradient. Right? Or going to tilled ground, right? So he explains in the in the parentheses, so we're talking about ground that was plowed, and when it gets plowed, it gets soft, so then it doesn't splash anymore.
So what's the halakha at the end of the day? In the sieve?
Halakha is, that first of all, by the way, with us, the toilets, you got no problem. But for them, for those guys, right, the din was that you shouldn't urinate directly on the ground. So what you should do is, if you're in the field, right? So either use tilled ground, or you're on a hill, right? Or as we said, right? Also sometimes you could be sitting as well. Sitting is also good, right? As we said. Okay, Chazak Baruch. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Did the
Shabbat
girls
shalom.
leave yet, or?
How are you? They're glued to their seats. What are you talking about? They're glued to their seats.
They really needed this lesson in case they become transgenders,
God bless. Okay, so here we go.
because neither one of them said anything throughout the whole.
Yeah, they're trying to be, because they're too busy listening, Sorry. Okay.
All right,
So
all right.
I'm just shutting it down. Thank you for the Zoom people. God bless all of you. Thanks for coming.
Ask them what they thought of it.
Oh, they're gonna grade me. Gonna get graded.
I wonder how they're going